Hello guys, this is Doronsmovies and welcome to the 25th episode of the lore Q&A series. So today I'll be answering some of the questions you guys left on the previous Q&A, and if you'd like to get your questions answered, it's best if you put it on the newest Q&A video, and also you can send your questions by YouTube personal messages, Facebook and Twitter, and also if you send your messages over Facebook and Twitter, I will probably respond them very quickly. Alright, anyways, let's start. Byron asks, do you think the Alliance will retake Gilneas because when Siege of Orgrimmar ends, you can talk to the leaders of your faction, and Varian says he will try and take Gilneas back? Something like that. Or maybe with Vol'jin as the new war chief, the Alliance and the Horde could make some agreement. With my main as a Worgen, I really hope there will be a story like this. Okay, so I believe that it could be possible, but nothing is really known at this point, and I've actually heard that Blizzard said on BlizzCon that they would love to redo Gilneas, kind of, reintroduce that zone, because they said they love the architecture, and to be honest, it is amazing. It is kind of, unique for the world, and it did look pretty badass. But they haven't really given us any solid points, any solid proof that they will redo these zones, like they will reintroduce Gilneas. But it could be possible, in the future, but I don't really see it coming in Worlds of Draenor or, directly after Siege of Orgrimmar, but later in the future, if there is some sort of an expansion going on in the Eastern Kingdom, or it's like related with Sylvanas or the Forsaken, I can see how it could be possible that they reintroduce Gilneas. Okay, next on. Valdus House asks, if all of the Sylvanas' undead are mostly undead humans, are they conscious about their past and present like Lillian Voss is? Why don't they serve the Alliance? For example, they were fighting Horde when they were alive, and now they're on their side. Also about Sylvanas, when she was taken as a Banshee by the Lich King, Cinderay were more on the Alliance side, so why did the Sylvanas join the Horde instead of the Alliance? Alright, so for starters, for your first question, some of the undead actually did join the Argent Dawn, because they remember their past, and however, they haven't really been many of those that joined the Argent Dawn, but honestly the Alliance, like the Alliance as it is, doesn't really want to do anything with the Forsaken, because I believe they consider them abominations, and yeah, that's exactly why they don't want to take them back. But I guess they're kind of loyal to Sylvanas because she is the one, giving them shelter and leading them as a new race so they can become something new, and that's why I believe they are following her. But they definitely couldn't just go back to the Alliance like nothing happened, because, as I said, no one would really accept them back as their previous selves. Okay, so for your other question, well, that was actually briefly explained, why she joined the Horde before World of Warcraft. That was a bit confusing for me as well when I first started playing World of Warcraft, because, in Warcraft 3, the undeads were enemies and now they're with the Horde, but actually there's quite a decent explanation of why they joined, and that is pretty much because they were located around Lordaeron, and the Alliance wanted to retake Lordaeron, and Sylvanas and the Forsaken were in a really bad position, because they could just be attacked by a larger force, and she wouldn't definitely be able to fight off the entire Alliance, with her limited undead forces. So she sought some help and looked at a few factions here and there, and she actually did get a response from the Tauren, and the Tauren convinced Troll to accept them into the Horde, because it would kind of have been mutually beneficial for both the Horde and the Forsaken, because the Horde would get a foothold on the Eastern Kingdom, meaning that they could fight the Alliance from one continent and the other, while the Forsaken would get help from the attacks by the Alliance and all of that. So that is pretty much the story of how Sylvanas and the Forsaken joined the Horde and not the Alliance or whatnot. Alright, next, Derek asks, why is the Iron Horde such a threat? The Alliance defeated the Horde with demonic power, but now they're stronger, not to mention the Horde is there as well. Well, it's not really a threat, like as you would consider it, because we actually all know that we're going to defeat the Iron Horde. That was the same for Deathwing and Lich King and Illidan and Garrosh, so it wasn't really a huge threat to the Alliance, because we know they're actually gonna defeat the Iron Horde just as they defeated the demon, Horde. But in the history, actually, the original Horde was very powerful, and they were pretty much winning the war until they lost a very crucial battle, when Gul'dan betrayed them and went to the Tomb of Sargeras and pretty much showed that he didn't really care too much about the Horde, but that he just kind of used the Horde as puppets in order to make himself more powerful. But generally the Fel Orcs were a lot stronger than just the regular humans, and the Alliance actually barely defeated them. And I mean, when you look at it, even the today's orcs that are not infected by the demonic blood, they're still a bit stronger than the humans because they're bigger, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But this time, the orcs actually have a mind of their own, and you know, are not just mindless demons, you know, just attacking anything they are ordered to. Plus, the major part is that they have the newest technology and equipment that Garrosh brought them, you know, that goblins invented. And you know, there is like a bunch of cannons. I mean, what you can see from the trailer, you know, those grunts with the cannons on their back, and all sort of siege engines and all that cool stuff. So I would say that they're mostly a threat, you know, lore-wise, because they have better equipment. And even though, I mean, the gnomes did take some of the goblin stuff, if not most of it, in order to study it, so Alliance is probably going to have something similar in their arsenal as well in the battle against the Iron Horde. So, as I said, I don't really see them as a huge threat, but we all know that we're gonna defeat them in the end. Okay, continuing on, Peely Peel asks, how was Icecrown built, because it wasn't there when the Lich King struck Frostmourne into the ground? Well, yeah, that is a bit of a confusing part in the story. You know, it's one of those things that hasn't really been fully explained, that people just wonder what's going on with that. But if you're talking about the cinematic from Warcraft 3, then it kind of totally makes sense, because when you think about it, Frozen Throne, I believe, was like 4 or 5 years before World of Warcraft, and Breath of the Lich King was like 3 or 4 years afterwards, so there is like a 7, 8, 9 year gap between Frozen Throne and Breath of the Lich King, so it could make sense that he could build like this huge Icecrown Citadel, because there is like all these undead workers that he can just control, and he doesn't actually have to pay them or anything, so it's kind of like free workforce that doesn't even rest or anything like that. But if you're talking about the Breath of the Lich King cinematic, then it is a bit weird, but I believe it's just the angle you're looking at, because when he struck the Frostmourne into the ground, I believe he was at Sindragossa's fall, and what he did actually do was wake up Sindragossa, and that is a blue dragon like that died ages ago that crashed in Northrend and just died there, so he just rezzed her, and she just fought for him afterwards. But I mean, he wasn't actually at the top of the Icecrown Citadel in that cinematic. Well, that's what I believe at least. I don't think that was fully explained. But I believe at that point that the Icecrown Citadel has been built already. So yeah, I mean, that is just my opinion on that, but I'm not fully sure on this thing. Okay, next on, Deep Strike asks, do you think we should have a new hero class like the Demon Hunters, or even a 4th spec for all classes? Well, yeah, I do actually think that it would be a really cool addition to the game, but I don't think Blizzard will do it anytime soon, and I don't think they have any resources for it, or that they plan on doing anything, you know, on that scale. But I think what would be the best thing is that they make like an advanced class for each class. So for example, if you're a druid, you can like become an arc druid, and if you're like a warrior, you can become like a blade master, and that would be really cool if they could do that. But I can see how that would kind of suck, because no one would really, you know, stay as just a warrior when you can become a blade master, and everyone would just be a blade master. But they could kind of equal that out and kind of make it like specs. So for example, they could turn the current specs into like these new classes. So it isn't, you know, it isn't just numbers and talents and spells, and it's kind of like cosmetic and all of that, so you're a bit of a different. For example, if you're a druid, you can like become a witch doctor or whatnot. I mean, that would be really cool, but I'm guessing that would take a lot of time to make, and I don't think they currently are planning on doing anything like that soon. Alright, and the last question is by Sam, and he asks, lore-wise, how do hunters, warriors and rogues resist the power of the magic using classes? Well, that is a bit of a thing I have been wondering as well recently, and it doesn't really make too much sense, you know, realistically. I mean, here you have a plain warrior, it's just a barbarian or like a warrior that you have in any fantasy game, and you know, he has armor and a sword and axe, and the only way for him to kill someone is that if he gets in close and just attacks him. But on the other side, you have like this mage or a warlock or any magic wielder, and he can like shoot these magic bolts, freeze people, teleport or whatnot. So it would be pretty obvious like who would be stronger, because I mean, if the warrior charged at the mage, he could just teleport and then freeze him. But it's you know, it's kind of weird, because it's kind of like the game and the lore, and I don't think it's really too well connected. But even in the lore, I mean, the warriors are just as strong as the mages, even though it doesn't make really too much sense. but I guess a lot of it depends on the distance. So for example, rogues could use their stealth, you know, and their like assassination skill in their advantage, and hunters can use their like ranged weapons and all of that and their pets to their advantage, while warriors can use their strength and, you know, shields to like reflect spells and do damage. But realistically, you know, I believe that those three classes don't really have any like insane supernatural powers, but I guess it does work in the game itself, because a lot of those spells are kind of, you know, just made up in order to balance out the game. Alright, and that is all I have for this Q&A. Make sure to leave your questions either by Lore Q&A comment section, Facebook and Twitter, and also you can send your questions by YouTube personal messages. Anyways, thanks for watching, don't forget to like, favorite and subscribe. See you next time.